You know, delivering excellence is more than just 18 wheels moving products around the country. Trucking is complex, and its people are passionate. Accommodating a diverse driving workforce, ever-changing regulations, supply chain demands, and new technologies all present their own challenges, but in trucking, the creative and the innovative succeed. Let's understand the people that drive and support the trucking industry, and welcome to Garner Trucking's Beyond the Cab. Hello and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Cab. Today we have another special guest. Mr. Rod Wood is with us from Hub International. He is actually helping Garner take care of their 401k needs, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the choices we made as an organization and why, with Rod's help, that we are going down the road we're going down. So, Rod, please welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the opportunity.
So do we. We appreciate you being here. So, Rod, if you could just, for the listener, it's always good to kind of know a little bit of background. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you've come from and how you got to the point where you're offering 401k services?
Well, that could be a very long story, so we'll try to abbreviate it a little bit. But born and raised in Northwest Ohio, little town called Stryker, Ohio, if anyone's heard of that. Went to college at Bowling Green State University. Out of college, believe it or not, I went to work for what used to be Empower, which was called Great West back then.
Okay.
About 30 plus years ago, 35 years ago to be exact. So I've been in the industry for a while. And at that time, I worked with Empower, and I worked with advisors like myself now, helping them introduce and set up 401k plans with employers like Garner Trucking. After doing that for a few years, I decided I wanted to be an advisor. So I left Empower and moved out here to Findlay, Ohio, and began working as an advisor with employers, and have done that for quite a while. So my background is employee benefits, group health insurance, and 401k plans with companies of all sizes.
Now, do you lean heavier towards those 401k plans or the health insurance side of things, or both?
I do both, but probably in the last half of my career, I've leaned more towards helping employers with retirement plans.
Okay.
And I think my background in employee benefits really helps integrate the two together, because they are important benefits, and they kind of work together hand in hand.
We agree. Absolutely agree with that. So Hub, so previously Hub wasn't Hub for you, right?
Correct.
All right. So there was a previous business in play. Hub purchased. And what are some of the benefits that you've found since being a part of that group?
Sure. So prior to Hub, we were Benefit Design Agency and Financial Design Agency. Benefit Design Agency helped our employers with the employee benefits, and Financial Design helped with retirement plans. Several years ago, we decided that we wanted to move our services, I guess, a little bit bigger, grander than just Findlay, Ohio, and then also maybe bring national resources to a local level. So we did a pretty exhaustive search of people that did what we do on a national scale. After our due diligence, we decided Hub International would be our best partner for many reasons. Hub International is actually a private equity company. They're not necessarily a stock company like you'd see on the stock exchange. They're a private equity company that invests locally to basically grow nationally. But they happen to be the largest property and casualty agency in the world, the third largest benefit agency in the world, and I think we're the top 5th retirement advisor in the world. What's really neat, though, is they allow their local offices to operate just as that locally. So we're not turning into this big machine that has to answer to somebody internationally. We're able to service our clients and accounts locally, but we have national resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of kind of the attracting points when we first started having conversation. was just with that level of resource, but also the accessibility of having someone local that we can have a good relationship with and help develop this new plan. So, we've as an organization have had different feelings over the years when it comes to 401. There's a cost factor that comes along with that for an organization, and at the time when we had one previously, participation was really, really low. And we wanted to do some things a little bit differently this time around, build a different plan, hopefully that's a bit more attractive and kind of hits the mark for all of our employees so that they can take advantage of those opportunities. But in simplest terms, before we even go down the road of talking about pay, structure and those types of things, why bother to have a 401k?
From an employer perspective or employee?
From an employee perspective.
So great question. Social Security right now is really the only means probably 70 to 80% of people are counting on for retirement. And as we've all heard over the last several decades, we're not sure that Social Security will even be there when some of us go to retire in the future. So a 401k plan offers employees an opportunity to plan and save for retirement in a very easy format. It's payroll deducted, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. There's several different ways that you can invest money. You can do it pre-tax, you can do it post-tax, and then by setting up a 401k through an employer, we're able to get lower costs in investing, lower costs in advisor fees. So it just becomes a win-win for employees if they can consider doing 401k plans.
Absolutely. What type of investment options now with our 401k does an employee have?
So there'll be many options, and not to confuse anybody, I promise we make it as easy as possible for employees, participants to select what they want. But we'll have investments from a fixed account, a guaranteed CD bank type account, all the way up to equity accounts, meaning mutual, and they're all mutual funds when I say equity accounts, and we could talk about that a little bit if you'd like, but we'll have international mutual funds that they can select. We'll have large cap growth funds, mid cap growth funds, small cap funds, and then we also have what many employees use nowadays called target date funds. And a target date funds is really meant to make investing easy, and it begins with somebody deciding how many years they have until retirement. So let's say you're 45 years old today and you decide, I think I'm going to retire in about 20 years at 65. So 20 years, there'd be a target date fund out there probably called the 2045 fund.
Okay.
So an employee would choose that 2045 fund, and that program would invest for them like they're going to retire in 20 years. So that they'll spread out the monies based on 20 years in the market, and as that person ages, each year those investments inside that target date fund change to meet their age, so that finally when they retire, it's more conservatively invested, it's protecting their assets, and it's really set up to maximize what they're doing over that time frame.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, especially when it comes to the investment side of things and strategizing for your own future and making that bed for yourself, as you get ready to retire. With that type of a program, if I decided, let's say that, I wish I was 45 again, by the way, but that I was going to retire, I planned on 20 years, and then decided, what, I think I want to do it in 15. Are you able to change that?
So any investment that you set up, you can change daily, anytime you want. I don't suggest that you go in and try to make changes to investments daily, but certainly. And just because you may think you're retiring in 20 years, you may not necessarily select the 2045 target date fund, because you might think or say, hey, I didn't start saving until now.
Right.
I need to make up some ground, and how can I do it? And one way may be that I need to be a little more aggressive in my investing. So you might pick maybe a 2055 or a 2065 fund. which will invest a little bit more aggressively because it thinks that you have 30 or 40 years to retirement rather than 20. So you have those choices, and those things will help educate and explain to you as we roll this plan out.
Excellent. How long before you're vested in our program?
And correct me if I'm wrong. So any of the money you put in today, 100% yours. No vesting applies to what you as a participant put in the plan. Same with the actual match. It's a safe harbor match, so whatever Garner Trucking matches was 100% yours from day one. In the future, there is, I guess, a switch in the plan that if there's extra monies that Garner Trucking's able to apply towards a profit-sharing match,
Right.
they may do, and there would be a 6-year vesting schedule applied to that.
Okay. So is there a default contribution amount?
I don't believe we set up a default at this time. So I think you could put in you don't have to participate.
Right.
But what I would suggest is that because there's such a great match that you're offering employees, it's called the Safe Harbor Match. The Safe Harbor Match says that we will, Garner Trucking will, match 100% on the first 3% of what you put in as a participant, and then we'll match 50% on the next 2%. So essentially, if you put in 5% of your income, Garner Trucking is matching 100% of the first 4%. Lots of percentages and numbers. I know it sounds confusing, but what I would say, not necessarily look at it as a default, but as an employee, if at all able, you should try to put at least 5% in to maximize.
Yeah. Otherwise,
the match.
you're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely.
Just from an employee perspective.
Absolutely.
Is there a maximum annual contribution that you can
So
give?
there is a fixed dollar amount maximum, and don't hold me to this, but I believe right now it's $22,500
Okay.
for is the maximum that you can put in, and then I believe there is a catch-up provision for those of us that are over 50. We can put an additional, I think it's $7,500.
Yeah. I thought it was close to 30 grand.
Yep,
that you could.
almost. Yep, and those amounts are indexed like every year or two. They go up a few $100s, based on the IRS and Department of Labor regulations.
I know as we got started with this process, obviously we've got to kind of boil things down. There's a lot of great services out there as far as providers for this 401k. And looking at some different companies, there's a lot of really great stuff out there. And I think one of the big benefits that's present today, that was present at the time when we had our last 401, but I think has gotten exceptionally better, is that accessibility to your account information. Now, what can you tell us with regard to Empower and what they offer in terms of you being able to check on your account, what's going on, how to manage it? Yeah, all of the things that with regular banking we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I might take one little step backwards.
Sure.
Empower is the second largest record keeper in the country, and that's what 401k companies are called, record keepers. Second to Fidelity. Fidelity usually focuses on the big billion-dollar companies, the GMs of the world. Empower's niche are employers just like yours, employers that have 25 to maybe 2,000 employees, and they've built and designed their plan around that. They have larger clients. For example, Apple is a client.
That's a large
Empower, right. And I bring that up because Apple helped Empower design their platform that's there today as far as what employees see.
Okay.
That social media, that web platform, Apple kind of gave them some direction and advice on how to make it user-friendly. Those of us who have Apple iPhones or computers, they're really set up to kind of one click, and that's how Empower set up their access. So as you mentioned, lots of great opportunities out there, and all the record keepers have good access, at least the ones that you looked at. But Empower seems to be ahead of the curve. So one of the things you'll see when you log into your Empower account is you'll have a landing page. And that landing page is really meant to show you everything you need to know about your retirement in one quick look. And then if you want to dig a little bit deeper, they're just 2 or 3 clicks away. So it's just very user friendly.
Now, there's also an application too, right?
So a phone app?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They have an application that you can get on a regular Android basis or on the iPhone basis, and looks almost 95%
Identical,
the same
right?
as the website. It's a few different features just because it's phone versus computer, but yes, many people use the app now.
So from the employee side, one of the things that you don't always get to see is kind of the due diligence we try to do as an organization before we roll something out. And if there's one thing I can absolutely say, and we use a lot of applications, for day-to-day business, everything from purchasing fuel to the best routing to, here's your load information, those types of things. So we get to see a lot of different applications out there. And I know the Empower, both the website and the application were simple, easy to use, very clear as day, and a lot of even projection material too that can help you kind of plan for the future. So a lot of those questions that we all have when we start to think about retirement, whether you're in your 20s or you're in your 50s, you're always going to have those questions that you want to have answers. So it's nice to be able to use some of those tools that they have available. Is there a time and place where an employee can withdraw money from this 401k?
Yes, at retirement.
Okay.
So
plain and simple.
Pretty much, yeah. The plan is set up to be, retirement ready. So 59 and a half is really the target date. There are some hardship situations that if for some reason an employee falls on certain hardships, they can access their monies without a penalty. They'll have to pay tax, but otherwise it is meant to be, a retirement platform.
Right. Right, and that's our intention too. To kind of sometimes you got to protect yourself from yourself, right?
Yep.
We talked a little bit about the investment plans that are available through Empower. Is there any others we should be talking about? Anything that comes to mind that 20-year-old versus a 50-year-old might want to consider as they look at these different investment plans?
Yeah, absolutely. And so a couple of things. First of all, myself, I'll be available to anybody that wants help getting into the website, setting up the website, knowing what to look for, knowing what to navigate when you're in there, help with investments. If anyone wants some just personal assistance with someone explaining the investments and how they work, I'm here to do that, and I'm sure you've shared my contact information, and you'll continue to do so. Also, Empower at any time, and they have, I think, hours from like 7 to 7, 6 days a week. You can contact them, and there's advisors on the other side of the phone that can help you invest as well. And they can help somebody that's 20 or somebody that's 50. They can really direct you and give you advice on what to do. When you log into that website or application, for those of you that are interested, and a lot of you are traveling and on the road a lot, they have a way that you can tie in all of your accounts that you have anywhere. So let's say your spouse works and has a 401k, or let's say you have a savings account or a mortgage, or you have an IRA with an investor. You can add those accounts to the Empower webpage. You can't make changes to those accounts from the Empower webpage, but you'll be able to get a snapshot every time you log into Empower. You'll be able to see, I've got this amount in my 401k, my wife has this amount, got this amount in my IRA, and here's my net worth. So you'll always get an ongoing idea of what's going on, whether you're 20 or 40 or 50. I think that's a cool tool.
That's one of the amazing parts. And again, one of the things that kind of pulled us in this direction in the first place is the opportunity to be able to collect all that information, have it one location, so you can make better decisions, financial decisions. Do you have any kind of best practices or best advice that you can give as someone that maybe hasn't had the opportunity to have a 401k? A good starting point or things to think about.
Yep. A couple of things. First and foremost, what I hear every time I do an employee meeting, and when I'm doing employee meetings, I'm meeting with that young person that's 20 some years old. And I've got people that are 40 or 50 years old, and almost every meeting, that 40 or 50-year-old looks at the younger folks and says, I wish I'd have got started when I was your age. So first and foremost, I would say get started. Even if you can't put in 5%, put in 2, 3%, whatever you can. It'll be out of sight, out of mind, and you'll thank me for it someday if you ever remember some of those meetings. So that's the first thing. Just get in, even if it's a few dollars. It'll be worth it. The other thing to think about is if you have been working for a few years and you've came from another employer who has a 401k, and you have assets there, I would recommend to get those transferred into this plan so that you have control over them, and they're in one place. Believe it or not, I see a lot of people that have maybe been at a few other employers over the last 10, 15 years, and they'll have 2 or 3 401k plans that they forget about. So two big things is participate. If you can put up to 5% in, and then if you have assets elsewhere, let us know. We'll try to help you get them rolled into this plan.
I know that there's been several things that I've read that say it's just not a good plan you can have as many 401ks as you want, but it's just not a good thing to have one that's active and the rest of them just kind of laying out there. Right. You might as well get them combined and put them in one location. So I think that's absolutely great advice. Do you know offhand which investments have the lowest expense ratios?
Not without looking at them, I don't know, but I will tell you that the investment lineups we chose, cost was that was top of line. We looked at cost, we looked at the quality of the funds, and we made sure that they're affordable. So any of the investments in the plan, I would say cost-wise are great. And that brings up a quick point that we didn't just pick funds to try to look for the cheapest ones. We didn't pick funds just to look for the ones that were doing the best performance-wise today. We have a program that we run the investment lineups that you have through, and that program scores those funds. And that program actually monitors those funds daily. And quarterly, we produce basically a report card. And every one of the investments that you'll have an ability to participate in get a grade. If that investment over a period of 4 consecutive quarters performs basically at a grade C level or lower, we're going to pull that out and put a like fund back in that is performing the way it should be. Okay. So that's an ongoing process. That's part of our commitment to you.
What's that grade C look like? What's that number?
So so really, I guess to simplify it, it's a score of 1 to 10. Okay. Okay. So if it's 7 and below consistently, it's going on a watch list for us. And we're not just looking at the returns. We're looking at a whole bunch of stuff. We're looking at returns. We are looking at expense ratios. We're looking at how long the person managing those funds has been in business. We're looking to see if they're investing still like they set out to invest. So if it's a large cap fund, are they still investing in large cap businesses? So we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we score them on, and we add all that together, and that gives us that ongoing, I guess, score of those funds. And so we want to make sure that we're always bringing the best investments to the table.
Well, Rod, that's part of the kind of the value proposition that we saw when we brought you in and brought Hub in, as some of the things that we felt were key. If we're going to do it, we want to do it well. And, it's tools like that help us and help our employees to make the best investment decision that they can. Obviously, it's their money. They've got to pick where it's going to go and what they're going to do with it. But you've got to have all the tools in play to be able to do that. Is there anything else that's unique about the Garner program versus maybe some others?
I would say that, just the match, we are starting off with the safe harbor match. So if you can put 5% in, you're getting 100% on the first 4. That's an excellent match compared to the industry. So great opportunity. There is that profit sharing feature that at least in the future, if there is the opportunity to defer more from Garner's perspective, they may do so. We don't see that very often. So I think those two things, are very I guess, set you ahead of your competitors, so to
That's
speak.
great. That's great. So probably the most important question I'm going to ask you is how does an employee get started?
So there's going to be information that's mailed out to everybody shortly if it hasn't already been done so, and that will give you all the information you need to get signed up in the 401k. We'll be holding, I think, different sessions or some way to help people.
This is just one of many right
one
here.
of many. Okay, so we'll be doing many things that we can to help everyone in getting signed up. But really, it's as simple as calling an 800 number or logging into the Empower website and registering. So very, very simple. Behind the scenes, we meaning Barbara, you, Sherry, a lot of people are doing a lot of heavy lifting getting this all set up. We have to go through payroll company and get data uploaded and so forth. So your information will be all loaded into the system. So when you log in, put your name in, you'll be able to register. One key thing when that comes, make sure if you do go to register online, use the name as you have it written on your paycheck.
Okay.
And I mean that because, for example, my name's Roderick. And that's the way my paycheck reads. But if I go to log in with Rod, they're not going to know who I am.
Okay.
So make sure you use it as it's on your paycheck so that they find you. So that'll help. That's the biggest thing I find when there's an issue in the beginning of signing up.
Well, you kind of touch on another thing that I just was kind of thinking about as we're having this discussion today. And there's no secret we live in kind of a tougher world in terms of cybersecurity. Accessibility to accounts and things like that. It can be kind of a scary place. In this domain, as far as Empower is concerned, security, cybersecurity, can you share anything there that
Yeah, absolutely.
I figured you could.
So first and foremost, in order to log into your account, whether it's over the phone or on the computer, it's going to require two-factor authentication. So what that means is you can log in, then they're going to send you a text or an email with a code that you can put in so that they know it's you. If you call in, they're going to ask you some information that you'll need to provide to prove that it's you. As long as you do those minimal things, if for whatever reason your account's ever, for the lack of a better word, hacked into, and your investments are compromised, Empower guarantees to make you whole.
Okay, that's another nice feature of the program that we're offering. Rod, what did I forget to ask?
I think you covered most of everything that I could think of. I'm sure maybe afterwards we'll come up with something, but that's why we're going to be out in front of everybody as much as we can.
Well, and I really appreciate the time today to sit down and just kind of have this conversation so we can introduce in multiple facets, what this program means for the organization, for our employees. So I appreciate that time that you've taken today to sit and talk with me. There'll be plenty more information that's forthcoming, and we're excited to get this thing rolled out. We know we've got the right individuals and the right company in play to help us be successful with a 401k program, and we're excited to get that rolled out. So thank you again, Rod. Appreciate your time, and this has been another edition of Beyond the Cab.
Thank you.